Hey everybody, I'm Ariel and this is Gorehound TV. First and foremost, I want to apologize for the little hiatus between videos. I know all two of you were suffering. So, in honor of our return, we've decided to do something a little different, and instead of reviewing one horror film, I'll be presenting you with a list of 5 of my favorite films in my favorite horror subgenre, body horror. Now, for those of you that might not be familiar with the genre, body horror is defined as horror where the human form undergoes a grotesque transformation in one way or another. Keep in mind, this is all my own personal opinion. I tried to choose based on a criteria of how well the film fits into the genre and really just how much I liked it. And if you disagree or agree with my picks, leave me a comment because I'd love to hear your input. Now, getting right on into it, in the number 5 spot is Brian Yuzna's Society. Man, this movie is weird. If I could give you any advice about watching this film, don't watch it with family. This film is about a normal boy who becomes increasingly suspicious of his wealthy family's incestuous tendencies. This film has an excellent underlying theme of the wealthy literally sucking the life out of the poor for their own personal gain, and a really gross ending sequence. I won't spoil it, so you just have to watch it for yourself. I highly recommend if you have a strong stomach and a thing for butt humor. Moving on to number 4, I've chosen H.P. Lovecraft's From Beyond. Yet another film with Brian Yuzna in the credits. I think this one pushes the limits of body horror a little further. It's about a group of scientists that develop a machine called a re-animator that stimulates the pineal gland, allowing people to see beyond reality. While I feel this film takes a bit of a backseat to Stuart Gordon's Re-animator, another film based on an H.P. Lovecraft story, I find that this film has a lot more to offer visually. The science fiction of the film is pretty much as strong as you would expect from the 80s, but it's still a ton of fun if you'd like to watch people mutate and want to see Barbara Crampton in leather. My number 3 spot is taken by sort of an unusual film, in that it's only 2 years old. As I'm sure everyone knows, the golden age of practical effects seems far behind us, and that really bums me out. So when I saw The Void in theaters, I was completely blown away. And that earns it such a high spot on my list. It really comes out of left field with how original and grotesque it was, in the midst of psychological thrillers and PG-13 snorefests. I don't want to name any names, but you know who you are. The Void is also unique in that it doesn't really give you a reason why. It's very open to interpretation, while also not making you feel like you wasted an hour and a half of your life. For those who might really enjoy the quality of new horror, I think this is a good entryway into the magic that is 80s horror. My number 2 spot is Videodrome. You didn't really think we'd go through this list without some Cronenberg, did you? Just wait. Following a sleazy television operator, we see him discover a new program called Videodrome that broadcasts mutilation and torture. His girlfriend, Debbie Harry, or some might know her as Blondie, decides to audition and cue rabbit hole. This film has some pretty serious parallels with the real-life social issues of toxic media, maybe to a little more of an extreme, but still. I know I might be really biased here in that I adore James Woods, having grown up with Hades being my sassy idol, or because this is one of the first body horror films I ever saw as a little girl. But I can't help but still be enthralled in the storyline and mesmerized by the intense physical mutilation that takes place in this film. If you have eyes, watch this movie. And finally, on to my number 1 pick, The Fly. Told you to wait. When a scientist thinks he's ironed out the last bug in his matter transportation pods, or telepods, something goes horribly wrong when a fly makes it into the pod with him. Their genes are spliced together to form Brundlefly, and trust me, that's not the next Marvel superhero. This film takes the place for my favorite body horror film because, well, there's nothing wrong with it. Revolutionary effects, an unsettling sense of dread, fantastic cast, there's really nothing to complain about except maybe the baboon. And any excuse to look at Jeff Goldblum is a good one. Even if he's mutating into a horrible fly abomination, I would go so far as to say that this is the only film on this list that just fills you with absolute disgust. This film is the reason for remakes. I don't know if any of you remember the 1958 version of The Fly, but I sure as hell don't want to. See what I mean? That's been my list of top 5 body horror films. So be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you next week. I had to put a so in there anyways.